consider a broad and interesting future. And I'd like to welcome our guest keynoter, someone who thinks a lot about the future and how AI and digital technology can transform cities and improve the quality of life, as Mr. Chai was saying. Dr. Ayesha Khanna is co-founder and CEO of ADO-I, an artificial intelligence solution firm and incubator. She's been a strategic advisor on artificial intelligence, smart cities, and fintech to leading corporations and governments. Ayesha also serves on the board of the Infocom Media Development Authority, the Singapore government's agency that develops its world-class technology sector to drive the country's digital economy and power its smart nation vision. Welcome, Ayesha.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk about smart cities and the use of artificial intelligence. Now, the meme of smart cities has changed significantly since when I started working on it 10 years ago, or even longer. At that time, we thought that smart cities were about large governments and large technical systems that kind of had a top-down approach. And this is how you became smart, because you had one system and it was able to meet all your needs. In fact, they used to call it the operating system of the city. This is a cover of Barron's magazine from 2011. But that has changed now. The smart city has evolved. It is now no longer one operating system, but in fact, it is a platform for data and artificial intelligence. So how does that actually look like in practice? I'm going to give you a case study of transportation. In a large city in Asia, the public transportation company wanted to generate new kinds of revenue and engagement for its citizens. And they were thinking about how can we use technology to achieve this? And frankly, that's not the right way to think about it. It's never the right way to start with the technology. The right way is to start with a problem. So we identified with them the problem that most citizens face in Singapore, in Shanghai, in Jakarta, which is the fact that as we have more and more apps, we have the bus app, we have the MRT app, we have scooter sharing, we have app sharing, bike sharing, car sharing, taxis. The issue still remains that to get from one end to the other end, the consumer, the citizen, has to have many different apps to go through. So what if one could design a product that would solve that problem? That just in one particular app, you would have all your mobility mapped out from you. So that the moment that you got up and got ready for the office, the app could personalize the journey for you. It would book your taxi, it would reserve your MRT seat, and then if you wanted to get your 5 miles or 10,000 steps a day in, it would allow you to do that. If you wanted a greener option, it would allow you to do that. An integrated platform that was easy from beginning to end. And for the citizen, it's seamless, it's easy, it's personalized. But at the back, it's complicated. Because here comes the integration of all the different players in the transportation ecosystem. You have the infrastructure itself, the traffic lights, the traffic networks. You have all the different transport players, public and private, the buses, the subway stations, your car sharing, autonomous vehicles, bikes. All of these data need to be integrated and put on a secure cloud. And then on top of it, you want to make it easy for people to pay, and you have a fintech layer. This data negotiation is often not appreciated enough, but it requires somebody to understand the value for all the ecosystem players. And once this part of the negotiation is done, then of course, you can use the artificial intelligence to really chain all the mobility services together. Here you can see the first pilot was done at Nanyang Technology University. And these are just some of the modes of transportation that we integrated. There's even an autonomous vehicle that can take students, especially during exam time. There's a lot of demand for that. But during the other semester, there is a lot more demand for the bike sharing, etc. And over time, we began to understand the habits of students and faculty and visitors. And we recommended to one of the mobility providers, specifically the scooter sharing, we said, you know, if you put the scooters here at this time, we believe there's a demand for it and the students would value it. They had never done it, but they went ahead and tried, and their usage went up by 50%. So this is the power of mobility analytics, of intermodal transportation, or what is known as mobility as a service. We have seen whether it is movies, books, whatever industry you encounter, it is digitalizing, and transportation is as much a part of that trend. Now, once you begin to have this data, you can really use artificial intelligence to both help your customers and also your partners in the ecosystem. For example, as I said, we were already able to tell them when the students would need the transport and which transport layer they would need at what time. At the same time, we could tell the taxi drivers or other bus stations, etc., how much congestion and traffic to expect at that time. All of this simulation can be done with artificial intelligence and also what was discussed earlier, this concept of the digital twin. And any of us who's been stuck in traffic in Jakarta or even in Singapore during traffic hour, we know that this is of high value to citizens. The return on investment on this kind of cloud-based, AI-powered platform is enormous. In fact, the public transport company was so excited by this new innovative mobility as a service platform that they spun it out as a new company, and it began to get investment from Toyota and other investors as well. This is a classic example of bold leadership by a public transport company or any public agency that was able to then spin out something incredibly innovative and useful. Now, what's to stop you? Once you have all of these ecosystem players, you can just keep adding more players. In Singapore, we have been trialing driverless buses for some time now. These can easily be integrated in such an integrated mobility system. More than that, I don't know how many of you actually saw the volocopter that for the first time in the world was actually displayed in Singapore 2 days ago. It is the first drone-based electric taxi in the world. It's from a German company, and it will also provide a great deal of transportation options. But as I said, the more options you have, the more complicated it becomes for the citizen. So these kinds of apps are very useful. Again, why stop at transport? I would say because of data, cloud, and artificial intelligence, the boundaries between all industries are frankly blurring. How about this? The same ecosystem can now be used for insurance. In fact, for shared car-sharing drivers, the same platform has now been partnering with AXA Insurance to observe how drivers drive and therefore real-time allocate them the appropriate insurance premium. Again, sounds good. How does it work in reality? Well, we did something like that as well. For a Japanese insurance company who wanted to identify when elderly people were driving in a risky manner, we built an AI system that would allow them to do that. And the idea was that there would be a mobile app for somebody over 80 who was driving, or over 75. And if they were driving in a manner that was risky, the app would say, "Dear sir or madam, could you please park your car to the side? We see that you are driving in a risky manner." And by the way, the elderly drive in a different risky manner than young people. Young people tend to accelerate. The older you get, the more you slow down, almost to an unsafe manner. Now, what did we use? Again, you see, we started with a problem. We defined the product. We never talked about the AI. But now, let's think what we can do. Now, we used facial recognition cameras that would be able to tell if the person was drowsy or awake, or God forbid, had a stroke or something else. We used the telematics data from the onboard diagnostics box to actually see how they were driving. And again, because of the study we had done, we were able to identify specifically for the elderly citizens their risky driving behavior. We also had the biometric data from their Fitbits. And then, of course, we had the general data on the traffic conditions and also on the weather. All of these provided us the ability to generate a risk score. This risk score was then used to guide the elderly driver on whether he should stop driving or not. This was a pilot. It was very successful. We developed the system. We acquired the data. We built the model. And the next thing that will happen is that it's now being scaled and prototyped in different markets as well. This is the reality of how smart cities are built. No magical pony comes with a smart city system. You have to have pilots. Iteratively, you have to go through the process of building things with the latest technologies to empower your citizens to be safer and to have better quality of life. I think this is really important, and these are the lessons that we have to learn. There is no one-stop shop. It's ecosystems of public and private partnerships, building smart city services layers on top of each other. Now, you notice that I start with the problem, I start with the citizen. Too long have smart cities been defined by how high-tech they are. We have to stop that now. Let's take this example. Singapore, like Europe, like many other Western countries, has an aging population. You know, we are the world's third fastest aging population. And we want our senior citizens to be safe and secure. And here is a typical techie's response to that. And I'm as guilty as anybody else because we love technology and data. You know what? Let's take a big house or a small house, let's outfit it with sensors and cameras, and then let's put all our grandparents in there, And then if something bad happens, the carpet will tell us if they fell. And you know, there are pills that you can now swallow. And if you don't swallow the pill that has a sensor in it, it sends an email to your granddaughter or your ex-wife or whoever wants to see you dead. But the point is that, you know, this is the way we think of smart cities. That's not the right way. Let's step back. Let's start with the problem. What are some of the biggest problems that the elderly face? Yes, they get injured in their homes. This is a fact. In fact, it is the #1 problem. But they also die of loneliness. What's the point of a fabulous smart home and you step out, there's nobody there? And this old habit of taking old people's homes and putting them far away, especially as all of us are aging, doesn't sound that attractive anymore. And by the way, the elderly or senior citizens, not even the elderly, senior citizens after 65 are the demographic that get injured in car accidents the most in Singapore. So that is the problem. Let's again go back to our solution. Fine, we should have smart homes. And the Housing Development Board does have smart-enabled homes that it is now putting in to a lot of the buildings where over 75% of Singaporeans live. It has the sensors, it has the cameras to keep our senior citizens safe. But there's a more holistic approach happening as well. Singapore is now experimenting with more mixed-use residential and commercial areas. So look at this. This is a nursing home that also has a playground in it. And in some of the new districts that are being built, you'll see that the students and their innovation labs, the nursing homes, the malls, the kindergartens, they're all kind of together, leading to a more harmonious and better quality of life. You may have heard in Singapore, in 2014, the Prime Minister announced that we do not think of ourselves as only a smart city, but as a smart nation. And the point of it is, we have a more holistic approach to this. When we think of mobility and we think about the need to prevent accidents, we think about driverless vehicles a lot more. We think of volocopters a lot more, drone taxis. We think about layers of public transportation a lot more. And this is the kind of smart city that you want. One that is taking care of the needs of its citizens every single day. Now, if that was only what Singapore was doing, it wouldn't be known as one of the most smartest cities in the world. Here's another problem. I'm going to put all this high tech everywhere. Good luck figuring it out. Not everybody is a digital native that was born with kind of a mobile phone, you know. And one of the things you do when you set up smart cities, and it's as relevant, by the way, to those of you who are introducing this in your companies, is to bring the people along with it. So Singapore has an AI assistant in an app called Moments of Life. And the idea is from the moment you are born to the moment you pass away, all of the usual bureaucratic hassle that you have to go through, from registering your birth certificate to getting a passport to end-of-life planning to estate planning, all of this can seamlessly be done over time through an app that helps you in a personalized manner with all the services you need. So for these senior citizens, it's not good enough to just provide them this environment. It also tells them all of the things they need and is integrated more and more into the healthcare system, into the transportation system, into the housing development board system. It's early days, but Singapore has spent 2 years working on this and is now coming out with its first launch soon to be used for young parents and senior citizens. This is why McKinsey called Singapore a government that thinks like a designer. Nothing too big, there's a big vision, but you're constantly agile, constantly experimenting with ideas. And the goal is always the same: a green, harmonious environment, but underpinned by the latest technologies, by sensors, networks of sensors, data, by artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, drone taxis, digital twins. But as you walk through it, that should not be your concern. Your concern should be your happiness, your health, and your economic certainty of you and your children. I think that's the right way to combine what we know are the latest technologies with what is the needs of our city. Now, I could just walk off this having waxed lyrical about the wonderful things that AI can do, even in a holistic environment, but that would be wrong. For all of the talk of data and AI, it is clear that with great power comes great responsibility. We know that there are unintended consequences of using artificial intelligence. We also know that the people who founded the social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook, it was not their intention that there should be fake news that would affect everything from elections to referendums, but it happened. And so it is incredibly important that if you use data and AI, you must govern it properly. People have these knee-jerk reactions sometimes, not in the industry so much, but in conversations. Is it moral? Is it ethical? Should I? Shouldn't I? Well, you know, the answer is you should have good governance in place between people, processes, and algorithms. One is capable of making sure that there is no bias, that there is no data leakage, that there is no hacking, and there is no manipulation in the systems that we build using artificial intelligence. And Singapore has one of the first ethical AI frameworks in the world and an advisory council of international experts specifically for this reason. Cybersecurity, data privacy, and the ethics of artificial intelligence are the three things you will hear about a lot. Maybe not in our generation, but certainly in our children and our grandchildren. As they are concerned about climate change today, they will be concerned about data safety, and so should they. And we should be very responsible in the cities we are building for them. Now, the European Union has already provided us some kind of guidance on this. It has said that if an algorithm made a decision that affected your life, such as not giving you a loan for your house or something else, you have the right to ask it, why was this decision made, and explain it to me in plain English. It's a difficult ask because AI is complicated, but these kind of regulations will lead to more innovation in the sector. So I think that a human-centric, interdisciplinary approach is really important. Personalization with proper governance is the way to build a smart city. This is really critical because when the smart city is supposed to feel like the city is there for you, both in terms of giving you the services you need, but also in terms of protecting your data for the greater good and for your good. Now, I would like to end by saying this is not a movie. This is our life. A lot of us come to keynotes, and we come to panels, and then we go back to our jobs and our particular things that we need to do, but we forget that AI is now going to revolutionize not only one sector in our company, but entire cities and the world itself. And there is great opportunity to be had and great responsibility in doing it properly, and each one of us must do it. I have a charity called 21st Century Girls, and we teach girls the basics of coding and artificial intelligence. And these girls are 19, they're from Neon Polytechnic. They didn't have any AI background. We asked them, before they started this course, how do you feel about your future? And they said, well, we feel a bit nervous. We don't really understand how we'll fit into this smart city and other world. And then, 3 hours every Saturday, 10 weeks. That's all it took. We taught them the basics of AI. We helped them connect it to business problems. We taught them the ethics of doing it right. And look at them here. They were excited. They made presentations. Some of them even changed their major. Well, if they can do it, I believe all of us can be on this journey together. And so I invite you to join me on this exciting journey of artificial intelligence and to take advantage and be responsible citizens in the smart cities of the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ayesha, thank you very much. On the one hand, visionary, on the other hand, practical. And I think we can imagine how the notion of mobility as a service will make the work of infrastructure engineers through 4D digital twins more valuable for longer, but through an ecosystem that's beyond what we've done to date, and perhaps our technology keynote tomorrow will take up from there.